I will call you out.
Man, it's a quiet crowd today.
No, I'll say, Leslie is we've managed to pick up a couple new recruits. So that's always good news.
Yeah, where did they come from?
You'd have to ask Leslie. I
Okay.
don't know where she is.
Okay, that's good. We got two last month as well, which is nice. K-score agents. And it's been a rough go for the region in growing our agent count the last month. So it's good that
Yeah,
we're
I think ours
keeping
is
forward.
K-score as well.
Hey Chance, what's going on with you down there in Superior?
Oh, just a little bit of this and a little bit of that, my friend. Was just doing some just checking in on a lot of the folks in the region down in the Pueblo area, over in Grand Junction area. To see how everyone's doing, holding out. Seems like everyone's been doing pretty good with the fires, which has been great. But other than that, we're just apps are picking up, contracts are picking up right now. I'm getting a lot of phone calls for rescue
You have a
deals.
list. I don't need it.
No, I'm
So we're
showing
seeing
some
a lot
to
of
you
things
about
picking
the
up on
East
our side
Bay.
of the market.
Fantastic. Are you guys closing some loans?
Yeah, yeah. So Matt's got a few deals under contract, which is great. I believe he's working with one of Team Black Bear's agents there, Magdalena, I believe her name is, and so they're working on something together. And then he's actually doing a deal for the mayor of Minturn. So that's really interesting.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, so but it's been good. No, we've been doing really well. A lot of VA buyers I've been working with on my side. And then also just doing working with several investors right now too. So DSCR has really been kind of the buzz flying around right now that's been coming in and actually saving some deals.
Yeah, that's good. And I'll tell you something good here from um, Mountain Properties is, we've got lots of listings. We've got agents who are signing buyers and getting listing agreements sold. The challenge has been is getting things priced right. It's been, I know in my own business, it's been a little slow to get offers in on some of this. And I know Will's experiencing some of this. If he wants to chime in, Will's got a lot of listings right now, and it seems like it's been slow. Will, has that been your experience? He might be doing something else. Oh, there he is.
Yeah, I think that I will say it was great to see that we had a bit of a pulse over the 4th of July. I know we all, as agents, come into June thinking, great, it's summertime, particularly this year. It felt summery very early, and we all want the people to be here, but it takes a second for the kids to get out of school, etc. But I think the key is, and you've heard this before, is to be pricing them for the existing market or the one that you're going to be in 30 to 60 days rather than the one that there was a year ago. That could be dangerous territory, right? And there are some pockets that could still be very hot, but if it's a pretty average property and you're competing against some other things, you do need to sharpen your pencils and be aggressive with the pricing and have those hard conversations. And I would recommend, prefacing that with your sellers so that they're not surprised and you don't drop a bomb on them a few weeks into the entire process, right? Be clear that if the pricing is aggressive, that this is a test of the market and define what that test looks like and how long it's going to go on for, and explain what the future is and how we're going to get this thing into someone else's hands, right?
That's right. That's right. Okay, Basecamp Buzz, events, trainings, and announcements. Monday and Thursday, Breakthrough 120 Accountability Group, 9 a.m. on Zoom, Frisco and the Edwards office. Um, Weekly, we have productivity coaching with Katie Briggs on Tuesday, 1 to 2 p.m. on Frisco office and Zoom. And then weekly on Wednesday, contracts with Rod Fishkin. 1:30 to 3:30 in person in the Edwards office. And Lunch and Learn with Chance, July 8th. That's today from
Tomorrow.
12, or no, tomorrow. Is that
Yeah.
tomorrow, Chance? From
Yeah, that's
12,
tomorrow.
12 to 1:30 in the Frisco office and Zoom. Choose your blood type t-shirt. You have the freedom to give and the power to save lives. Keller Williams Top of the Rockies Community Blood Drive is this Friday, the 10th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And you can make an appointment at vitalent.org or call the phone number here or scan the QR code for the blood drive and pick your t-shirt. Mile High Market Brief with Russ and Charles, Mondays at noon. It's 30 minutes. Who here has joined the Mile High Market Brief?
It's really
It,
good.
it's really good. You know, something interesting that they talked about yesterday, despite the buzz in the media about it being a buyer's market and there's more inventory, the inventory is only a tenth of what it was in 2008. Did you catch that yesterday? Were you on there
Yeah,
yesterday, Eric?
yeah, it was
I
good.
mean, so this is something else going back to Will's conversation. We talk about industry updates and what's going on in the market. And most of those stats are looking at all of Colorado, which is predominantly the Front Range, where the saturation is just based on population. Even though it's, we have slightly over 6 months of inventory and it's technically a buyer's market. Just remember too, I've said this before, I will continue to say this, 45% or so of homeowners don't have a mortgage thanks to the baby boomers. And the next 65% of homeowners, 75% of them have a sub 4% mortgage rate. There's not a lot of distressed properties right now. And even though, yes, there are extended days on the market, we've got to continue to have conversations, especially with buyers, that yes, there might be deals to be had, but a lot of sellers are not under duress where they need to sell their homes. So make sure that you're having the right conversations with your buyers and sellers and checking in every Monday at noon on this Zoom call with Russ and Charles will help you understand what's going on in the market factually, not just what the news is saying. And also our regional rallies on a monthly basis, usually the second Monday of the month after the growth call. Oh, what's his name? Who's on there that does a really good market update? His name's escaped me. Somebody can correct me if they know who I'm talking about.
Cooper.
Okay. Yes, that's right.
Mhm.
Um, Mega Camp is coming up Wednesday, August 19th. This is in San Antonio, Texas. Keynote speaker Simon Sinek will be there, best-selling author who wrote the book Start With Your Why. This is coming up the 17th through the 20th in San Antonio. There's the QR code if you still need to register. Rocky Mountain Summit. This is right around the corner and this is right in our backyard. Everyone here needs to attend this. This is the 23rd through the 25th of September at the Height. You will get referral business out of this. You will get opportunities to network with other agents, particularly in our region. This is a great event, and we look forward to seeing you all there at the summit coming up just around the corner, a few months away. And let's just go into the rise, talking about recognition for closings, cappers, and contributors. Summit June 2026 top producers by individuals. Rodrigo Villafana at 3 million, Kerry George at 1.5 million, Dan Derman 1.4 million, Brenda Kellen 1.125, Morgan Keeler at 940,000, Laura House $820,000 of production. Mary Aragon, 585,000, Dan Lee at 550, Celine Islas at 451, 350, and Dakota Cordell at 431, 250. Congratulations for your production. Top or at Summit in June. Um, Top producing group for Summit Skinner team at 12.9 million. Great job, Skinner team. Way to go. June's team did 5.5. The Thompson group did 2 million. Signature home team 1.1. The Vega team at just over a million, and Ideal Ascent at 650,000. In Vale 2026, Ryan Richards at 2.2, Brooke Gagnon 1.282, and Will Rostron at 1.235. Congratulations, you guys. And Team Black Bear, top producing group at Mountain Properties at 1.1 million. Great job. And today I want to welcome Meg Daday. She is the founder of Meg Chicago Real Estate, established in 2015 with a mission to help busy professionals and families navigate the Chicagoland real estate market. She was an attorney with 7 years of legal experience, and she brings a consultative educational approach to real estate, driven by her passion for interior design and creating meaningful homes. Meg transitioned from a successful legal career and has since helped more than 250 women and families buy and sell homes, generating over 100 million in sales volume while building a strong community of trusted collaborators and events for women and families. Meg, it is good to see you again. I met Meg maybe a month ago in Aspen at the luxury event, and she is now in Colorado in Boulder, and she is here to talk to us today about real estate.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. It was so great meeting you, and I'm excited to see some familiar names on here. Like Ryan said, my business is based in Chicago. I'm now living in Boulder and just passed the licensing exam in Boulder. I haven't signed on to a market center here yet, but I'm hoping to do that this week. Um, do you want to keep going, Ryan, with the other slides and then have me hop in?
Nope, nope, we're right here. We're gonna chat right now. Um, so tell me, tell me what got you into real estate in 2015?
So I spent 7 years practicing law at a big firm in Chicago. My last 2 years were as associate general counsel for a startup. And during that time, I just kind of fell in love with marketing and strategy. So I realized I should have gotten my MBA and gone into marketing. Um, and that company no longer needed two attorneys. They, within a few years, were out of business. So I was basically at my application for that job, I wrote, "This is the dream job I didn't know existed." And then, like, within 2 years, was let go. So, for about 6 months, I sat on a friend's couch watching their newborn and was just like, what am I going to do? And I realized that in order to kind of like put those passions for marketing and strategy to work, I could get my real estate license. I was already interested in interior design and just kind of like start marketing myself. So, I don't know that I had never been in a sales role. I didn't really realize that getting into real estate meant getting into sales and just was completely unprepared for like a commission-based lifestyle. So, yeah, it was a tumultuous start from the beginning, I would say.
And what was tumultuous about it? What was the most difficult challenge that you faced when you started that business, when you got into real estate?
I had a great sphere. So, in some ways, I was set up really well. My entire family is in Chicago. I'm the oldest of six kids. I had been networking for years as an attorney. So, I kept going to all the attorney networking events that I had been already going to. But because I didn't really know how to do any sort of sales or understand lead generation, I just, I was working my sphere and did I think from the outside, I was doing well. I I think that first year, really the first full year, I did like 8 million in business, which was probably like 16 to 20 transactions. So, but I had come from like a six-figure salary. So what the real issue was that I had been making like $150,000 steady 2 week paycheck, healthcare, all the things, taxes in particular taken out. And so I went from that to making like $60,000 my first year, which I think for a lot of people they would have been happy with that. But I didn't put anything away for taxes. I was living very much paycheck, like less than paycheck to paycheck. And so that just started that first year. Like in October, I, extended my taxes, and someone from, H&R Block was like, instead of you being in debt to the IRS, I'd rather you put this $10,000 on a credit card. And I already had like some credit card debt. I had about $100,000 in student loans at that time. And so I was just like, well, yeah, this is my only option. So it just, I got into, even though from the outside real estate was going great, I was getting into kind of a vicious cycle of not being able to move forward in my finances.
And when did that change? When did the momentum shift from the difficulty starting and having to, you have the six-figure salary with benefits and now you're commission based. How
Yeah,
long did it take until things got more comfortable?
a long time. I started with a local company and switched to Keller Williams in 2018. So it was like January 2018. And I started drinking from the fire hose of like our amazing culture right away. My very first day, someone said, she was the OP. She's not, she's ironically like not with the company anymore, but she said this company will change your life if you let it. And I was like, I don't even understand what that means. But I dove into everything. And in May of 2019, John Schumacher started a one thing accountability group within our office. And it was he was taking us through the steps of the one thing each week. So we started with our someday goal and then, gradually worked down to what's the one thing this week that's going to make everything else easier and necessary. So in May of 2019, I realized that, of the seven circles and the one thing, the two things that would make everything else easier or unnecessary for me were getting my finances in line and my health. Because at the time, I was like 50 or 60 pounds heavier than I am now. And so I was like, this was May of 2019. I turned 40 in April of 2020. And my goal to the group was I'm going to lose 40 pounds by my 40th birthday. And I didn't say anything to them about my finances. Like that was just sort of in the back of my head. This is kind of like the goal, but I was too embarrassed to talk about it. And so the two things that I did at that time were I stepped on the scale for probably the first time in months and realized like, oh, I probably have more to go than I even thought I did. And then I added up all of my debt. And so I still have that spreadsheet and it was 172,000 and like $832. And 100,000 was student loans. It was May, so it was taxes from like the previous year because I had, of course, like filed an extension. Plus, it had been a great spring, so I already owed a lot in taxes for like 2019. So to kind of like fast forward this, by March of 2020, I went to family reunion having zero deals under contract. By March 17th, I think I had one under contract, but my first closing that year was April 11th of 2020. So as everything was shutting down, I had been working towards paying off all this debt, but I still had $100,000 left and maybe even a little bit more at that point. So I had like already paid off all the taxes. I was catching up, but the student loans were still there and I hadn't practiced law in years. So March 17th, I rented out my place, moved home with my parents like on March 30th, 2 weeks before my 40th birthday. And I just looked at it as a fresh start. And I knew by that point, I had like, I had one $2 million deal under contract and a few more. And so I knew that like by I don't know, May, I would be able to pay off a lot of that debt. And by living at home and having like my mortgage covered by the rent, I could just like put everything towards debt. And then that within a few months, I was like, oh, the pandemic will be over. I'll just be able to like move out and just start fresh. So I continued doing that. And then by right around this time, like July 3rd of 2019, an attorney friend called and she said, "Oh, remember that person that you referred to me? This person I met at an open house had slipped and fallen at a Jewel. I referred her to a personal injury attorney. And because I was still licensed as a lawyer, I could get a referral check." And I was like, "Oh, it's going to be a couple $1,000s, like a real estate referral." And I had one final student loan left. It was for $27,700. And she was like, "Your referral check is $27,777." So by moving home in March of 2020, I was able to pay off all that debt within like 4 months by July of 2020. And that was really like, so I started in real estate in 2015 and it took me those 5 years to really like get momentum going.
Well, and I think this is just such an important and amazing story, and thank you for sharing it because, especially top of the Rockies and mountain properties, our market centers, I don't want to say they're unique, but a lot of our agents who join us, typically we don't recruit agents from other brokerages. We've had some success there, but a lot of the core agents that join our market centers, they don't have experience. They're coming from our K-Score program, or maybe they got their license on their own through the local college, and they're coming here with no business. And even it's not so ironic that at Mega Camp, Simon Sinek, who wrote "Starting with Your Why," is so important. And for you, starting in 15 and taking essentially 4 or 5 years to create momentum, it sounds like what I'm hearing from you, your health, you had this weight loss goal, but you wanted to get out of this debt that started at 170 some $1,000. Was that your big why, just having those health burdens and the financial burdens over you? And I sense that you just felt that your back was against the wall and failure really wasn't an option. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I think grit is really important in this business. I'm single. I had no, I mean, I guess my parents were my sort of like backstop, and I'm super grateful for them to let me live with them for what turned out to be a year and a half. But um, yeah, I had no other option. I had to make it work in this business. And I, the other thing that I was doing at that same time and got probably more consistent and purposeful like in 2019 and 2020 was I started hosting micro events. And um, so I had no money clearly at the time, but I knew I wanted to connect with people and create kind of like a networking experience that was something that I actually wanted to go to. I had spent all these years going to really stiff attorney networking events where everyone was wearing a suit and you got 2 free drink tickets. And, in Chicago, you're like paying $40 for parking and spending 20 minutes to go 2 miles just to get there. And I knew that the people that I wanted to work with like wanted something more than that and they wanted to connect with other like professional women in my case. So I I think the paying off debt, losing weight, and now I realize like I do really well kind of like identifying just the next domino. So like what's the smallest micro move that I can take in order to reach those goals? And um, it's never like moving home with my parents was a big move, but it didn't feel like that at the time. Like I've since given up alcohol and same thing. It was just an experiment for 30 days. Like moving home with my parents, I never thought I'd be there for a year and a half. It was just like, oh, I'm going to do this for 3 months, pay off the debt, and then I'll be done. So I think for me, like building my business and getting momentum all starts with just like one micro move.
That's interesting. And when you talk about these micro events, um, has that been a big part of your lead generation strategy? How do you generate your leads to build a really, really nice business in a major city where there's lots of competition?
Yeah. So for context, I guess that year, 2020, when I had nothing under contract in like March, I ended up selling 40 units for like probably just around 30 million. So my price point in Boulder is going to be a lot better than it is in Chicago. But in Chicago, it's pretty good too, like 600 to 700,000. So, and then this year, so I ended up being the number one individual agent in the Mid America region for like 2020 through 2023. And then now our team, I mean, I use the word team lightly, but I'm still the lead agent on every single deal. And I have a showing partner in Chicago who's doing every boots on the ground thing that there is. She's at a listing right now, just like scoping it out and sending me photos. Um, and then we have an executive assistant and a virtual assistant who's a TC. And so far this year, we're at 34 units and like 28 million in volume. So we did like 12 units and 10 million in June. So, and all of this is because of the micro events and email newsletters that we're sending to our ideal clients. So back in around that same time in 2019, I was working with someone who's now a good friend. We're going to Aspen together in a couple weeks. And I was doing an open house. It was over 4th of July. And she walked in with her sister. She was in town, works for Google, and was like moving back to Chicago from San Francisco. We're about the same age. She kind of like was wearing something similar. And we just, just one of those people that like you hit it off right away. They're a fun client. They have like a great price point. She was motivated. I just realized at that point that I didn't need to be working 4 open houses a weekend to try and meet everyone in Chicago and all whatever, connect with everyone. I just needed to meet 30 women exactly like Kari to meet my goals. And so I really started focusing in on professional single women. Now we have a few different avatars, and um, it is engaged or people who are within 1 year of their wedding, so like first time buyers. And we just one of the a couple of the closings in June were this, but a good example is Danny and Amala. They got married last summer. Now they're pregnant and due in the fall. They bought a $1.3 million condo. So everything we do is really geared towards one of these three avatars. The next avatar is upsizers. So they bought that condo 3 or 4 years ago. Now they have an 18-month-old baby. They're, a little bit more established in their careers. They need to sell that first condo, buy a single family home. But the thread of all of these avatars are the women are kind of like at the center of the decision making. And so that's who I'm trying to attract. So we design events and I write email newsletters, really speaking to these type A professional women who have a great career. They work in law, technology, consulting, a variety of other industries that are common in Chicago. And so the micro events started because I wanted to meet more women just like Kari. And now they've evolved to meet more families who have 18-month-old babies who are going to need to sell within the next year and buy something bigger. But every single thing is really designed to speak to like usually one particular avatar.
And so this is interesting. We talk so much in our market centers, and I think this is just a KW. This is just a generalization. We talk a lot about how do we build our database? How do we lead generate? How do we create micro events or call expired listings? Or who is your sphere of influence? But we never talk about, or very rarely, what happens when you get something under contract? And what happens when things don't go as well as planned? And particularly in the mountain communities, our price points are higher, and the generally it's less total transactions. Most of us aren't doing 20, 30, 40 transactions. I mean, the Skinner team it does quite a number. Team Black Bear does quite a number of total transactions. But what advice or what experience would you share how you handle things when they don't go smoothly?
So I stay really on top of things, and it's going to be interesting because I just took the Colorado exam. Like, Chicago's an attorney state, so like it's going to be a whole new world being more of a title state and not having the attorney to fall back on. So I now realize even more how lucky we are in Chicago to have that. But um, so one tool that I love is called Quo. It's so if someone has like your solo agent plus an executive assistant, it's an app and it's a phone number. So now I have a Chicago number and a like Colorado phone number. And so it's a team phone number that all three of us are on. And I think the communication with the client has really improved with that phone number. And so I think we head things off or kind of like keep them under wraps through really super consistent and frequent communication. And I wish it weren't all via text, but that's just how people, like there are a lot of emails as well from our transaction coordinator, but keeping people informed and kind of like in the loop through this team text number has been a huge game changer. So um, I think it's like my attorney background too. I love the negotiation strategy. So I'm not afraid to pick up the phone and call the other agent. And if something's, you know, a, I feel like I can see all the ways that something's about to go south before maybe it happens. And so a lot of it is just proactive communication with either the clients or the other agent.
That's great. And going back to talking about how we have newer agents in our market centers that don't have a lot of experience, and sharing your insight where it really took you 5 years to where you really started to gain momentum. That's right.
Yeah.
What are a few things that you would encourage newer agents who might be dual career, especially in expensive mountain towns? What would you give them a few pieces of wisdom, advice on whether it's grit or whatever you think you'd like to share on how they can stay in this? Because we just see a lot of this where agents join, they hang their license for a few years, they don't sell anything, and then they just disappear. And what would you say to that?
So I have a lot of thoughts on this, and I would love to see anyone else's questions or thoughts in the comments. But because I didn't really intend to start a new business in Boulder, but I'm doing that because I've started to get agent referrals there. And I'm just sort of like networking naturally, which has been fun. But so I've been thinking a lot about this because I'm essentially a brand new agent in Boulder in a new place where I have no sphere. And so for me, I think it really comes down to knowing who you want to most work with and that idea of an avatar. And I think it's counterintuitive to a lot of people, especially when you're just starting out, because we want to help everyone. And I do help everyone who comes our way. And like in Boulder, I think the most likely people that are going to come my way and who I'm like naturally kind of like networking with are the same professional women. But in this case, I think they're more like 10 years older than me, have downsized from somewhere else in maybe Ohio or somewhere else in the Midwest. They've moved to Colorado for a more outdoorsy lifestyle. They, have had a great career and are just looking for a totally new lifestyle change. Um, Agent referrals are another one. And then I'm in a co-working space. So, people who are like all entrepreneurs in the co-working space probably are going to be my third. But my advice to someone who's just starting out is like, look at where you're already excited and like getting involved in things. Maybe it's a hiking group. Maybe it's, um, just like mahjong or cooking or skiing, whatever your like hobby is, just go all in on that and meet more people doing that one hobby and grow your network that way. Because, yes, it is going to take several years to gain momentum, but you can have fun along the way while doing it. And just to kind of like come back to the micro events, because that's really is how I built my business, is the key to them, I think, is kind of like knowing who the audience is and knowing who you want to connect with. So in I'm working on a micro event for Boulder for July, like a mocktail mixer. I'm alcohol free, and I've gotten involved in the hiking group at the gym. And, an alcohol free friend is coming into town for a few days. So we're just going to put together like a small event for 15 people, all about just like mocktail mixology. It's something I'm passionate about. I think other people, both at my co working group and at the gym, are going to be interested in it. And it's just not going to cost a lot of money. It's getting people that I'm already connected with together. And so, I mean, I could, if anyone's curious, talk way more about micro events and how we put them on. But I think in a second home market, thinking through, you know, people probably aren't in town. So would they hop on Zoom, or um, just how can you connect with people who are like-minded and who are maybe already in your sphere and provide something of value, whether it's a virtual event or an in-person event.
Very good. Who has questions for Meg? Things that she didn't talk about, or any other curiosities that people want to know about? What questions do people have?
Or advice for me on starting my business in Boulder. The market here is so different. Chicago, we have less than 1 month of inventory in most neighborhoods. So it's actually, I'm excited to kind of like sharpen my skills in a totally different market. And I mean, it's been fun because I think I have the benefit of having a strong business in Chicago. So this is just an experiment to see how it goes. And I can host events and have fun and connect with people without the pressure of having to like make getting a deal out of it into it. And I think that I don't know if I've ever been in that position. So I'm excited for it.
Hi, Meg. I'm Kara up in Estes Park.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Hi, welcome. Welcome to
Thank you.
Colorado. I would love to get together in the next week or three and connect, and you can send me your referrals and I'll send you my referrals.
That sounds awesome. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. Good luck too. I'll send my
Thank you.
info in the chat. Are y'all going to post her details anywhere?
Let me find my Boulder phone number and I'll post that in the chat. And then
Okay.
the best place to connect is probably Instagram. Right now, my handle is at Meg Chicago. But I, like read all those messages and
Okay.
it's just easy to connect there. So let me
Cool.
look at this phone number.
All right.
Yeah, I'm super excited and I'm going to be at Rocky Mountain Summit too. So,
Well, I will be in Europe, so I won't make that, but I will catch you on the next one.
perfect.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, welcome.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
If anyone has questions or wants to talk more about micro events, or just because I think the thing that I do hear from people who are in more second home markets is like, well, my people aren't here. How am I going to get them together? And I totally recognize that as a challenge to this approach. I think the other thing that I do frequently is I think people think of an event as like 20 people. It can be like 5 people. And one thing that I've been doing here and also do in Chicago is like see something that is already happening. One idea around the holidays that I've done for years now is a wreath making class. But an easy way to get started with something like that is if there's something already happening at a local business, buy 4 or 5 tickets, invite 2 people and have them invite their friends. To me, that is an event because it's just something that's like getting you out of your comfort zone. Or if one of your like great past clients is coming in, for a couple weeks over the summer, they probably have visitors coming with them. Maybe you could, there's music in town and you can put the blanket down for them and gather everyone for something. So like part of this is just seeing things that are already happening and gathering people together so that they're building their community and you're just like the connector or the facilitator.
That's amazing. I love it. Any other questions for Meg? Any other questions? Well, I've got a final question. What was the biggest challenge for you taking a business? I know you have a team, but what was your biggest challenge packing up your life from Chicago from all these years and showing up in Boulder? That's pretty bold.
Telling my family. um, which so I did this when I went alcohol free, and I've been like thinking about this very similarly. I didn't make a big announcement about it at first, and I still haven't on social media. Like I've made announcements in the pivot group and, to my agent newsletter, but to my sphere, I'm splitting my time. So like they don't realize how much that I'm basically moved here or that I am moved here. So I think with some of these things, I really love the approach of experimenting. So going alcohol free, I just tried it for 30 days but I really committed to dry January. Coming to Boulder, I reserved an Airbnb it was like 30 days, then I extended it to 90. Now I've signed a 12-month lease. So nothing is like 100%. I feel like books and stuff talk about you've got to jump off the cliff, go all in. Well, the business in Chicago is what's making me the money. I can't drop that completely. So, I think, but over the past 3 years, I've been working remotely probably 40% of the time. So it seems somewhat abrupt from the outside, but to me, like I've been putting the pieces in place for a long time. And I spent winters in Barbados and Palm Springs and I've been just kind of like exploring different places. And I really, um, realized that I wanted like a small town within an hour of an international airport that had a lot of sun. And so by experimenting with all these other places over the last 3 years, I honed in on what I actually wanted and what was important to me. So I know that was a long-winded answer, but I think the idea of just experimenting is what's I'm like taking forward.
I love that. Well, guys, thank you for joining us on the lift today. This has been a great conversation, Megan. We look forward to seeing you at the summit. And if anybody has buyers and sellers in Boulder, you know who your gal is. And she left her
Yes.
number in the chat. So we will talk to you next week and we'll see you on the lift 9:15 next Tuesday. Guys, have a great week. Thanks for joining in today.
Nice to meet everyone. Thank you.